Hi. There have been a lot of conversations about firearms lately, and in most of them, if you're not against gun control, you're for gun control. And I've gotten a lot of flack from a lot of people, and I just have a few things to say to, well, you will figure out who you are, even if you didn't know I was upset at you at the time. First of all, to those on either side of the debate who confuse weapons and penises, either as a good thing, yeah, it's, whatever, or as a bad thing, that a gun is a dick substitute, fuck you. You need mental help, speaking purely non-professionally. Second, I'd like to link to my Godless Morality Symbols video to get across a very important point about firearms, which is that they are just firearms, not great defenders of freedom or great tools of evil. 3, to the people who are anti-gun control, okay, I'd like to see you get out on a highway where driver's licenses were optional. Sure, after a year or two, you'd kill off most of the bad drivers, but I wouldn't want to live through that year or two, at least in a country this crowded, with this many cars. It only makes sense that if you have something that can kill another human being, that you have a minimum standard of competency, or at least have some idea who is buying firearms, if not, as I would prefer not, who is buying what specific firearms. Now, also the fact that the Second Amendment implies a responsibility as well as a right. And it is a legal right. I don't believe in natural God-given rights, whatever. And certainly I don't think God said, let there be guns in everybody's hands. If there is a God, which I doubt. But enough about that. Damn, it's cold. As for the pro-gun control side, not the ones who are into the idea of a responsible adult, making sure that you're not selling firearms to someone with a history of past violent crime, The people who are, guns are evil, and guns, there is absolutely no reason to have a gun, and there is absolutely, nothing redeemable about them, I call bullshit. Most of the people who say this have either been at the wrong end of a firearm, which I can respect, or they have never seen a firearm in their lives outside of the movies, a museum, or in the hands of a police officer, which makes me laugh, because if you're talking about something you don't understand, then you're being an idiot. And I'm not saying that seeing a firearm implies any understanding, but I am saying that understanding and gaining the ability to separate your emotional idea of what one is versus the actuality is an important part of being able to discuss something rationally. Not only that, but focusing on gun control is essentially, the more you try and make a perfect gun control regime, the more you are devoting resources to something that's well past the point of diminishing returns. The whole idea of going after guns with the vehemence of that rhetoric leads me to think of prohibition and the war on drugs as far as undesirable results. And not only that, I'm not going to get into that any further except to say that it's a symptomatic cure that does absolutely nothing to directly address the problem, which is people killing other people in violent crime. Although I will say that as an example of how something that has absolutely nothing to do with gun control can affect violent crime, I'd like you to, I'm not even going to link to it, do your own research. Look at the violent crime in the city of Washington, D.C. for 2007 and 2009. Look at the demographic statistics and think about what happened very beginning of 2009. And you tell me which is more effective. Gun control or, and I know correlation does not equal causation, but if I'm right, then the simple feeling of empowerment in a group of citizens will make them much more happy and much less violent. And if that's just a symbolic gesture, then imagine what real empowerment, what real community, what real actual investment in communities and people could do. So, to me, focusing on gun control is a short-term idiotic solution. And fighting the battle of firearms being some great protection of the First Amendment, no, I'm sorry, there's subterfuge. You can have speech without guns, you can have guns without speech. Matter of fact, one can be used to shut down the other. Thank you for your time and attention.